One of the biggest bright spots from last season, the most entertaining guy in the building at the moment, and perhaps a guy that might need to be minimized in order to be maximized. Dameon Pierce, he talked at the podium. He also hopped on my radio show. Let's hear from Dameon Pierce, the Friday kick you need here in the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do.
Welcome to the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2. Sports Radio 610, which is where you heard Dameon Pierce earlier this week. If you were listening, we had some really fun stuff with Dameon Pierce, and he was also at the podium. And I got to tell you, this is one of the most entertaining guys in the building right now, and he had some really interesting things to say. There were some entertaining things, and I have a comparison for Dameon Pierce that I think is perfect, but it might also mean that the Texans need to use him in a different way. Minimize to maximize is what I've been saying. Subscribe, like, right along. It is the number one source for Texans daily digital content. Let's get right into it. Let's hear from the man himself, Dameon Pierce at the podium. His press conference actually started pretty funny. Aaron Wilson kind of asked him a question-ish, and Dameon Pierce, he showed his personality. He was a little bit confused by what exactly Aaron Wilson was asking.
Well, no, what's your question, though?
It seems like your off-season, that kind of a low-key, just keep working.
And I ain't gonna lie, I don't know what you're asking. Like, you won't, like.
What do you do for last season? You do the top last year.
Okay. I don't know. Try to get more yards, more touchdowns, be a bigger role on this offense, be a better leader. You know, just get better, my boy. Get better, my boy.
All right, so get better. That's the funny side of Dameon Pierce. I am intrigued to see how he balances, and I think you'll like this too. How they balance the way they use him, and how he's going to balance being maybe a mentor for the young guys and leaning on veterans. This is Dameon Pierce talking about CJ Stroud, the quarterback, and notice the word he uses. Keep in mind they're less than a year apart. Listen to Dameon Pierce. You can tell he wants to look out for the young guys because he throws the word kid out there when talking about CJ Stroud, which some Dalton Schultz did as well. Here's more from most entertaining guy in the building, a very important part of the Texans' success.
CJ, great kid. I love the way he's come in and work. Obviously he's our draft pick, so there's a lot of expectations on him. He's handling it very well, handling the media very well, handling the playbook, the transition to college. He's a quick learner. I would say that he's a quick learner, and the only thing I tell him every time I'm on the field with him, bro, command the huddle, bro. Don't be scared. Don't be shy. Don't shy away from that leadership role. You know, you got guys on this team who are behind you and who will help you in that aspect, and we're here to lift you up. So you go out there and make a mistake, you know that you got solid ground to fall back on, and we're going to help you through it.
I'm telling you, man, they need to maximize this guy to where he's around for as long as possible. This guy, Dameon Pierce, is what you want on a team. And with the way that he runs, and a conversation we'll get into a little bit later, and it's one of the most debated things that we've talked about. 220 carries last season in 13 games. That just might be too much. And I'll give you the ideal comp. I think you can kind of see where I'm going to go here. But this is a guy that you want. You want to get him to that second contract. You want him to be your finisher. You want him to close games. In order for that to happen, you're going to need the Singletaries and the surrounding cast to work out, and Bobby Slowick to figure some stuff out. But I just want this guy around for a long time. Let's hear more from Dameon Pierce. So you just heard him about the young guys. What about the vets? This is Dameon Pierce talking about vets, and this is one of my favorite quotes from the press conference, talking about leaning on veterans when it comes to heading into year two.
How to do is impress the vets wherever I go, because I know they know what it takes to, stay in this league and sustain in this league at a high level. And, anytime a vet is saying good things about a young guy such as myself, going to year two, that just gives me confidence. And it kind of, reassures me that I'm doing the right thing. I'm handling it the right way. And that I'm doing, vet-like things that are going to, contribute later in my career.
And that's practicing what you preach, right? A lot of guys will say stuff like this, but you heard him talk about CJ Stroud, and he said, I try to encourage him as much as possible. Let him know, command the huddle. Don't be shy. And then with the vets, he talks about the approval of vets is important because vets are in this league. They know what it takes to stay in this league. I'm trying to stay in this league. And that's just something that I think it's practicing what you preach. It's authentic leadership. It's culture with substance. We've talked about Rex Burkhead's coming around, and you're over romanticizing him, and you're talking about culture. The guy's not good. Dameon Pierce is really good. He's one of the most physical runners in the NFL. A lot of people feel really good about him. He's probably going to be drafted in the first few rounds of your fantasy league. And when he's practicing what he preaches, and he's trying to help the young guy, the hopeful franchise quarterback, while leaning on the OGs, the vets, that's practicing what you preach, and that's that leadership with substance. You'll hear Dameon Pierce on our show shortly, but let's hear him talk about this offensive system. We saw him last year have some success in that crusty-ass Pep Hamilton offensive system. What about this Bobby Slowick guy? He said some interesting things about the offensive system here about Bobby Slowick that I think might make you feel pretty encouraged by what Bobby Slowick, the latest example of someone leaving Kyle Shanahan to take an opportunity to oversee an offense, encouraged by some of the stuff that he had to say about Bobby Slowick.
I should say it's running back friendly. That's one thing that excites me. We run the ball. I love that. But I like the dynamic that Coach Slow brings. He likes to attack the defense in every way possible. If he sees a weakness, he's gonna pull that thread into the whole ball of yarn comes loose. So he's gonna pick at the defense. He's gonna put the defense in position where they gotta think and not where they can react. He likes a lot of movement. He likes a lot of motions. He likes putting us out. You know what I'm saying? So once you get the
motions and movement, wow, what a concept!
The intent behind his offense, is really easy to catch on and adapt to. But I think right now he's just making sure we're putting our emphasis on the why, not more so what we're doing, but why we're doing it. And when we get to training camp, he's gonna rev it up some more.
Okay. So the why, movement, all that type of stuff. It seems like Bobby Slowick is explaining to guys why they're doing things. And a lot of times you'll have coaches who will tell you to do something, especially just because, I've done it here and this is the way it's supposed to be. And because I said so, basically. But Bobby Slowick, it seems like he values teaching to the point where he's letting the players know the why. And when you talk about moving guys around, you talk about motion. That's how you create matchup problems. We have not been used to motion. Bill O'Brien didn't use a lot of it. Pep Hamilton was very limited in it. And let's be honest, sometimes the motion was stupid. The most motion we saw with Pep Hamilton last year was putting Jeff Driscoll in motion in the Wildcat, or putting Davis Mills in motion and lining him up outside. We've talked about culture with substance. How about some motion with substance? Putting a wide receiver in motion or a tight end in motion that's actually a threat. It just seems like there's a lot more substance. It's early. It could end up being a disaster. And right now, this is the time to drink the Kool-Aid and whatnot. But it does seem like, just based on Dameon Pierce, just based off his energy, and let's be honest, his energy is kind of contagious, so you're going to be excited about what he says, but it does seem like there's motion with substance. So we've heard him on Slowick, we've heard him on the offense, we've heard him talk about vets, we've heard him talk about CJ Stroud. What about the face of the franchise? How about D'Amico Ryans? Here's Dameon Pierce talking about his head coach.
I'll start with the second question. My impression is he can still play in this league. I ain't know Coach Miko was that big. I thought Coach Miko was like a player at first. I was like, hold on, that Coach Miko, man, rock solid and shit. I'm like, dang, man. But cool guy, great guy, down to earth, man. But you
run that back.
I'll start with the second question. My impression is he can still play in this league. I ain't know Coach Miko was that big. I thought Coach Miko was like a player at first. I was like, hold on, that Coach Miko, man, rock solid and shit. I'm like, dang, man. But cool guy, great guy, down to earth, man. But you can tell he has a passion for this game. He has a passion for his players. And that's a guy who loves being around football. Coach Miko, he's still working out with it. We be working out. He be on the what is called the VersaClimber, getting his sweat in, you know what I'm saying? So I like seeing that from a coach because it shows that, he's committed to the grind, not only the No, we on the field. We only see him when he on the field. Nah, he's around everywhere. We see him in the cafe, meeting room, weight room, on the field, off the field, just around the building in general. As players, that makes us more comfortable around the coach, and that's the guy we want to follow and lead.
It just seems like there's so many intriguing, exciting layers to this team. And, you go from the offense, having substance, motion, all that type of stuff, explaining the why, leaning on the kids, leaning on the vets, the head coach, that type of thing. It just seems like there's a lot of substance. And maybe it's just because Dameon Pierce is exciting to listen to and it's easy to get excited. But you know what? With the way things have been around here, it's fun to be excited. We're going to get more into this and what Dameon Pierce had to say to us on In the Loop, which you can hear me on 10 to 2 Monday through Friday on the Odyssey app. We get all the players. We try to give you something in those interviews that you can't get at the Podium. Little more loose, little get to know, that type of thing, because the media types are going to ask the Podium questions. If we just ask the Podium questions when we have an interview, we're doing a disservice to you, and we're not providing you with fun stuff. So we got into some fun stuff with Dameon Pierce. But before that, let's hear the legend, Mark Berman. By the way, 3 days till Berman retires. Shout out to the GOAT. All right, here's Mark Berman asking Dameon Pierce about his contact and his desire to abuse opposing defenses.
Why do you like to seek contact? Why do you like to seek contact?
I don't like to take it, man. That's about as simple as I can get there. I don't like taking contact. I'd rather be the one delivering the blow,
Very simple. I don't like to take it. I like to deliver it. Now, the question is, though, how can that running style hold up? We'll get more into that. Subscribe, Locker Room, #1 source for Texans daily digital content, reacting to Dameon Pierce at the Podium, and most importantly, on In the Loop. Join the show. So when Dameon Pierce joined the show, as we kind of try to get to know him a little bit more, and then we'll get to the comp that I think makes a lot of sense. I've heard Dameon describe himself as country as hell. So my first question for Dameon Pierce when he joined the show was, what does country as hell mean? You're from a small town in Georgia. I asked him what country as hell means, and my co-host, the OG John Lopez, followed it up. And we got kind of a glimpse of what Dameon Pierce was like and what country as hell means. And by the way, he said he never played another sport. It was always football 24/7. Even in a small town, you have people playing every sport. Dameon Pierce just played football. Here's Dameon Pierce, running back for the Houston Texans, talking about what country as hell means.
What does country as hell mean?
From the way I walk, from the way I talk, to the way I carry myself, baby.
What's the most country? What's your favorite country meal?
Country meal?
Mm-hmm.
I think you kind of got to go fried chicken, collard greens, candy yams, and macaroni.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
that's so.
And you got to have cornbread with the perfect crust on the bottom.
Perfect
All
crust.
right, is that
That's
slightly burned?
Slightly.
Oh my God,
A
right
tad
there.
over golden brown. Make
That's-
sure it's done, baby.
That's my guy right there. What'd you do in Bainbridge?
I like to say it's a lot of grass and opportunity. So, naturally football, naturally football is one of the things I gravitated towards, just get a ball and go find somebody yard big enough to play.
Guess you were playing Jenga or something on Texans radio. Are you a board game guy? And I guess I'm kind of going back to the whole growing up in a small town thing.
Not really. I'm more of an outside street light kind of guy. Street light come on, it's time to go home.
Yeah, that's old school. So
So dodgeball, all that type of stuff.
Dodgeball. We had something we call road ball.
describe it. What is that?
Two-hand touch football in the road.
Okay, I see you. I don't know why Lopez thought that board games was a small town thing, but okay. Here's Dameon Pierce on his mindset this year versus last. So, last year you're kind of a rookie. You missed a few games. Probably would have played more had they been playing for something. Here's Dameon Pierce on In the Loop, Odyssey app, 10 to 2 Sports Radio 610, show of record in town. Here's Dameon Pierce talking about the mindset this year versus last.
How you feeling this year as compared to last year?
I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm excited, and I got a whole bunch of guys around me who feel the same exact way. So I'm excited to see what what we make of it. We got coming up on the tail end of OTAs. Next week vet mini company. We out for a couple weeks, and we got a couple weeks off to get our mind right, get our body right, and then we're going full steam ahead into camp. And from camp, once we get into camp is rolling. We're getting ready for the season. So I'm just excited to be around a lot of guys who kind of are in the same mindset as me. And the coaching staff as well. So it's just a great feeling to have a lot of guys excited for football, and it's a lot of reason to be excited.
There is a lot of reason to be excited, and he's one of those reasons. I've always wondered about this. So Dan Mullen at Florida, he got a lot of criticism for the way that he used a lot of people. Dameon Pierce is one of those guys. Dameon Pierce had double-digit carries 7 times his entire time at Florida. And this is a guy who had 220 carries in 13 games last season. At Florida, though, he didn't get used a lot. I like his answer here. I think it tells you it wasn't about willingness. There wasn't some sort of method. He didn't say someone was in front of him. But I asked Dameon Pierce about his usage at Florida, and this is what he had to say when he joined the show.
I want to ask you this, Dameon, because it seems like you like getting a lot of carries. There's been talk about a running back committee, but I want to go back to Florida. It seems like you kind of have a workhorse, build when it comes to a running back that maybe most coaches would like to hand the rock to, 15, 20 times a game. How come at Florida you didn't get double-digit carries? I think 7 times was what I saw. What was going on there? Was there just like a committee mindset? Were you being misused? What was going on there?
Not sure. Just took advantage of every opportunity I was given. I was grateful for every opportunity I was given, and I was just trying to maximize it. So I really didn't focus much on the why. I just focused on what I control pretty much just right now. Whatever Coach D'Amico want to do, whatever Coach Slow want to do, I'm with it. I'm all aboard. I'm a team first guy. And that's how I always been. That's how I always will be. Just like you said, the more quality carries I get, like the fresher I am when I get the ball, the more violent I can be. So
Yeah.
The more violent I can be. And violence is going to be a theme here when we talk about the use as we wrap this episode up. Here is Lopez asked him about his mean-ass running style, the same thing that Berman asked. Here's what Dameon Pierce had to say about the way in which he runs.
man, I don't know, bro. My running style is the complete opposite of my personality. So I'm pretty sure if you ask anybody about my personality, I'm funny, outgoing, about the chillest dude, about the coolest dudes you can meet. But when I get on the field, I don't know, dude. I'm just a different guy. When I see that other color, I see red, man. And I just be trying to fight for every yard. Like every yard counts. And I'm gonna take mine whether you give it to me or not. So that's just how I play. And that's the mindset I attack it with.
What satisfies that mindset the most? Is it running over someone? Is it getting in the end zone? Is it moving the chains?
I enjoy every inch I gain with that ball in my hand.
Okay, every inch. And that's great. But the reality is the NFL is a physical sport. And if you're taking too much of a beating, you're not going to be in it for long, especially at the running back position. Hell, we just saw Dalvin Cook released. Dalvin Cook has 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He has 52 career touchdowns. So the running back position is interesting, and sometimes you got to minimize to maximize, which is why the comparison I keep making for Dameon Pierce is former Cowboys, rest in peace, running back Marion Barber, who was one of the most physical runners that we've seen in the 2000s. It was violent. It looked a lot like Dameon Pierce. If you go watch a Marion Barber highlight tape, it's a lot like Dameon Pierce. He was a sneaky good receiving back. Dameon Pierce is that. He was violent. He knew how to finish. Just whenever he touched the rock, there was just a completely different vibe of energy that he brought. And I think Dameon Pierce is that. The only mistake and the only thing that I'm worried about is with that violent style, I don't know if it can hold up as long. And maybe they being the Texans should learn from the mistakes of the past and try to maximize this guy. Now, in order to do that, you're going to have other guys. When you have Rex Burkhead, the ghost of Rex Burkhead, and you have Dare, and you have guys that aren't capable, then you're going to give him the ball 220 times in 13 games. And the reality is there's going to be games where Dameon Pierce gets the ball 20 times. And I'm not saying he should be on some sort of pitch count, but you need complementary backs. D'Amico Ryans has talked about this. Dameon has talked about this. And I'll just lay out this comparison before we get out of here, because I think it'll make a lot more sense to you, because it's one thing to just mention a name. And a lot of you young cats aren't even sitting there like, oh, the hell is Marion Barber? Marion Barber, just look up the highlights and tell me you don't see Dameon Pierce. A lot of you already know. And a lot of you are kind of thinking, are they really that similar? Well, allow me to lay this out. Dameon Pierce's height and weight. He's 5'10", 218. Marion Barber, 5'10", 218 is Dameon Pierce. Marion Barber, 5'11", 218. So they're the exact same weight, and it's a random-ass weight. 218, 5'10", 218 for Dameon Pierce, 5'11", 218 for Marion Barber. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, especially if you watch them run. Marion Barber, when he was at his best, and this is where we go to what's the best way to use Dameon Pierce. It was in 2006 and 2007. Marion Barber started one game. Started one game in those 2 seasons. He averaged 4.8 yards per carry, had 24 touchdowns. 2007, he made the Pro Bowl. And this is really important too. So 1 start in 2 seasons, 4.8 yards per carry, 24 touchdowns. 2007, he still made the Pro Bowl, and he had 204 carries. So that's about 14, 15 carries a game. If he played 15 games, that's perfect for Dameon Pierce. Now, this is where it started falling apart for Marion Barber because of that violent style. They tried to turn him into a starter, and Marion Barber started 38 games from 2008 to 2010. His yards per carry dropped from 4.8 to 3.7, 4.4, and 3.3, and he had just 18 touchdowns in those 3 years compared to the 24 in a 2-year stretch. And that's just not going to get it done. You look at the stretch, the good stretch for Marion Barber, he was still getting the ball. He was getting the ball 204 times, 238, and then 214 in 15, 15, and 16 games. So in 15 games, he had 204 carries. In 15 games, he had 238 carries. And then in 16, he had 214. Why am I putting these numbers up here? Because last season, Dameon Pierce had 220 in 13 games. Again, 204 in 15, 238 in 15, 214 in 16, and Marion Barber wore out. Last year, Dameon Pierce had 220 in 13 games, and Marion Barber wore out, and they run the same way. That's why they've got to find a way to minimize to maximize. Minimize to maximize. I want that guy in the locker room for a long time. I don't want him to be 4 and done. I want Dameon Pierce to be healthy. I want him to have 24 touchdowns in 2 seasons. They've got to minimize to maximize. It's easy to say, just give him the rock. You might enjoy it. It's short-term satisfaction, but you got to take care of it. And with the way Dameon Pierce runs the ball, and the only way he knows how to run the ball, and the only way in which he just told you that he runs the ball, it's very similar to Marion Barber. It was one of the most effective backs in the league when he wasn't starting, when they actually had a complimentary piece for him. And this is going to be on Nick Caserio in the front office to get him a complimentary piece. And this is going to be on Dameon Pierce and the Texans to be able to do that and him keep doing what he's doing. I love the guy. I don't want him to go anywhere. I hope Bobby Slowick knows what he's doing. I hope Nick Caserio knew what he was doing with the running backs, because I want him here for a long time. I don't want him to fall off. But we just talked about a guy with an identical body type, identical style that fell off. And quite frankly, his usage was less than what the Texans did with Dameon Pierce last year. You got to change that crap. I want him here for a long time. You might want him here for a short time. I want that country ass dude here for a long time. Let's not break him down. Subscribe, ride along. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Dameon Pierce joined the show. That's just one of many. We get the coaches, we get the players. I'm on the scene. I'm judging tailgates before games. I'm in the actual Texans locker room. We'll be on the field at training camp. We'll get multiple players each day, and I'm going to bring it to you here. Started it before last season. This isn't a clout chasing channel. This is a channel to provide you with daily Texans digital content from someone who covers it for a living, lives it, loves it, and loves talking to you about it. And that's the only reason I'm here. I appreciate everyone for coming through. Subscribe, like. No matter what happens, though, when it comes to this Texans-ish, we are all in this together. Appreciate y'all.
Locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste.